Hello. Let me know if you can't hear me or if I suddenly drop out. Because the button on this little guy is acting up and I don't know what it's a-doing. Happy Monday. We're here. I'm here. Boy, it feels like I was just here. I have so many leftovers. We have so many leftovers. I've been trying to just eat leftovers and not cook anything new. And I still have things. So, I'm cooking something new. But I'm shooting for no leftovers. We're going to use up ingredients. I didn't buy any new ingredients for this. We're just going to aim to use stuff up. I've concocted a recipe. Well, concocted. I lifted a recipe from the New York Times and modified it heavily. So I don't even have it pulled up right now, actually, because I'm going to be ignoring parts of it. Most of it. Everything but the concept. Yeah, so that's what we're doing today. I'm making the thing in the title down below. Because among the things I need to use up, there was a bunch of asparagus, oat milk, which is still good, but I don't drink a ton of milk, so it... I'm trying to see how high it is. It's about that full. Because you can't look in the sides because they make these things opaque. So it's actually about that full. So there's not a ton in there, so hopefully we can use up the whole thing making our cream sauce. I'm going to attempt to make an oat milk bechamel as our white sauce for pasta. I don't know if it works. I don't know if this stuff behaves the right way. And in the effort of doing that, we're also going to be making it without butter and without cheese. I have this garlic has used up. They're in little individual shrink wrap things, but they are already peeled, so they're not going to keep very long, so we're going to use up that garlic. We're throwing in some peas because the New York Times said peas. Actually, I might scrap the peas because I don't necessarily like the sound of it, but maybe just a little handful of peas. The asparagus, which is still in the fridge, I should get that up and out here. And then there'll be nothing new being added to the fridge. That's the plan. I'm sticking to it. Hopefully it can make a nice, rich sauce without resorting to throwing a bunch of cream and cheese into it. Which of course makes a nice, rich sauce, but it's kind of a cheat. I say cheat. That's the standard. We're going to see if we can do that without a bunch of that just because I want to try. So, step one, we're going to boil our pasta so that when I want to toss it into my sauce, it's ready to go. So, pot, water, over there on the heat. We're going to put it in the back so that I can use the front for other things. A good pinch of salt. And that's that. We're using a rotelle as my pasta of choice today because the corkscrew is very good at picking up sort of a cream sauce. And there's something on that burner that is burning because there's smoke. probably oil spatter from something I was frying and it spattered over there, and I haven't used that burner since. I don't use the back burner a ton. We use the front burner mostly. Okay, well. And I'm going to measure out the correct amount of pasta. It says that there are 8 servings in here. I disagree. Well, I mean, I don't disagree. A serving is not the amount that you are meant to eat. It's supposed to correlate with the old food pyramid that doesn't exist anymore. But for me, when I do a serving of these kind of short pastas, I just take a big handful with my big hand, and then like I eyeball it, and I often will add a little pinch to that. But that's good. So like one sort of biggish handful is usually good for these short pastas. It doesn't obviously they're all different, and you're different. Everyone's different, so I don't know. Throwing ideas at the wall. But that's the amount of pasta I'm using today. Not a ton. I don't want there to be leftovers. What we really don't want today is any sort of leftovers. That is not what we want. Ghost Assassin. Through the window. That window? That window right there? Creepy. Hi. Welcome. Thank you for the lurk. I'm going to start prepping out ingredients over here as the start. This is a sprig of mint from my garden. Mint is one of the fun things about mint is it has, you can barely see it. It has a square stem. It lets you really identify mints when you're looking around. I want to get this thing out of the way, so I'm taking the leaves off. We're going to use the leaves from the bottom here. My mint is coming up beautifully. And then I'm using the top. There you go. As going to be my decorative sprig for the plate. We don't need the stem. This is, it's so minty. It's quite a strong and a bit sweet mint called chocolate mint. Doesn't taste anything like chocolate. I'm pretty sure it's called chocolate mint because of the brown stem and the slight brown on the bottoms of the leaves. And when the leaves are very small, they have a little bit of a brown edge as well. Cybertraz! Hi! Welcome, welcome. We don't need the mint right away, but I want to get that stem taken care of. You put in the mint too early. Mint is an herb, so you put in the mint too early, and you can get it infused, but it'll also just kind of shrivel away to nothing. And I want pieces of mint. More than I want an infusion, I want some visible pieces. This stuff is Cuban oregano. This stuff I am going to cook out a little bit more, so we should get that prepped up. It tastes a lot like oregano. It's not from Cuba. The name makes no sense. I'm going to throw this one out because it's got a little bit of a black blemish. This all comes from a trimming that I used. I wasn't going to include this at all. But this comes from a trimming because my thing is climbing all over the place, so it needs to be knocked back. How am I doing? Whoa, we could get into that, but things have been better. I'm keeping a smile, keeping a positive, but you know, tough times these days. It has been a while, hasn't it? You know what? Spell that right. Get shouted at, Cybertraz. Get shouted at. Okay, these little guys, they're fuzzy, and they tend to, you really have to clean them. They tend to cling dirt on the surface because of the fuzz. So I rinsed these off, but they're still a little, I don't know. My water is boiling, so we'll get over there in a sec. I really want to mince this down because I want the flavor, and I don't want the bits, or I don't want the like visible bits for this one. We're going to try to infuse this into our oil at the start, along with a couple other things. Yeah, our water is fully boiling, so we're going to take our pasta, chunk it in there, turn the water down a little bit, let it roll. Okay, which pan are we using? I want to mise en place this before, in part because I don't think this is going to take super long, but also because I'm worried that I'm going to have to really tend the sauce once it starts forming a sauce. So I want to make sure I've got everything ready, that I don't have to stop and do something else. Because I'm a little concerned that oat milk is going to have a hard time turning into a full-on white sauce. So prep, prep, prep is the name of today. Which honestly is the right way to always do it. Prepping ingredients, unless they're for some reason really sensitive and can't be done in advance, prepping stuff before you start cooking is the best way. Thank you so much, Cybertraz. I appreciate it. I'm hoping we're kicking off a new month. I'm kicking off some changes. I'm hoping I can establish new habits and really get things in a good way. So, folks who are here, what is on tap for you for dinner, for the week, for the month, for the year, maybe? I don't know. I love to hear. I love to hear. We had just a monstrous rainstorm this morning. And by this morning, I mean it was about 4 a.m. At least that's when it woke me up. Pounding so hard. And when I went and checked my plants, some of my little basils, who aren't very big yet, got beaten almost flat. So we'll see if they have the ability to bounce back. I'm a smidge concerned that they are not gonna bounce back. So we might have a loss of basil. It was a ferocious, ferocious storm. Let's see, I should see garlic. I don't need a full shallot, but I think half a shallot, just one of these. One of the kids inside of this shallot. Come on, come on, split, 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 split. One of the kids inside of this shallot is a good idea for this. Why do I keep closing this? The compost bucket. I always need to throw stuff in there. I like storms. The trouble was it was just such a hard torrential rain that the plants that are more established, they were doing fine. The basils are still quite small. I started them a little bit late, and they're still little babies. And they, hopefully they have enough roots underneath that they can bring it back around. What is this weird? The skin on this one is weird. Okay, well. And they didn't all get flattened down, so it's not like I had a complete loss, but a couple of them did. So we'll see. The shallots really doesn't want to. I should use a bigger knife. I'm going to need a bigger knife. Well, I'm not going to need a bigger knife. I could probably get away with just this knife today. But it'd be easier to cut this shallot with a bigger knife. Ironically, small things are easier to cut with a bigger knife. Because you have more control. I'm using all my little dishes here. You know what? You know what? You know what? You know what? I also mowed the lawn yesterday, which was really good because it would have been. Oh, we had a gap in the rain because it rained on Saturday, and then it rained. It rained on Saturday, but it rained on Saturday morning. It did not rain in the afternoon. So the lawn had at least a little bit of time to try to dry out. Hi, TK. Welcome, welcome. I'm going to put those guys away. I don't feel like I'm climbing over them. So I took advantage and I mowed the lawn in between. It was very long because I'd been doing no mow May. It was still a little bit wet. The lawnmower caught fire. And that wasn't great. That wasn't the outcome I was looking for. We can afford the pastas to be a little bit under because they're going to go in the sauce briefly. But let's give one a test just to see how they are just a little bit under, but I'm going to let them, I'm going to say that they are the appropriate amount of al dente. And we'll get them out of there. Because then they can finish in our sauce down the line. Okay. I'm also going to... We're dirtying a thing just to see how much we've got. I'm going to see how much oat milk we've got. Just about a cup and a half. We might want to reduce that. I'm not putting it back in the jug at this point. I'll drink it if there's any extra. And the asparagus, which I would love to... Oh, and some scallions. That's a good, yeah, some scallions. A lot of green things. There's going to be a lot of green things in a white base today. Spears are us asparagus from Adams, Wisconsin. Shout out to Spears are us. So I actually want the ones a bit on the skinnier side because of the way we're cooking them. Oh, we're going to use that one. It's developing a slight wrinkle. We're going to lose a bit of the bottoms, but not a ton of the bottoms. We're going to do the old... that one's got squidgy on the bottom. We're going to do the thing that I said don't do, which is just snap the bottoms off. The very, very bottoms get kind of dried out. It's not a good way to test like where the snap point is. But it is just a good way to break the bottoms. Jay, hi, welcome, welcome. I want the spear points to be nice. So we're going to take the spear tips off first. Then we're going to slice up the bottoms into chunks. Because these little guys cook faster than the stem parts. And we're giving them a good, strong bias. Because they look a little bit nicer when you've got that diagonal on them. And they roll around a little bit less. How's it going, Jay? Working late. Well, don't work too hard. Or do. Up to you. I'm also going to throw in some scallion. We're going to do a little bit of an odd thing. Wow, these scallions are weird looking. Look at this funny... it wasn't me. Somebody peeled an outer layer because these had overgrown, but they didn't like fully peel it. They just kind of grabbed and yanked, and there was a little bit of a skirt on that one from it. And a little bit of a collar on both of them from the layer that didn't quite fully get torn away. Well, I would offer you dinner in your late work, but tough to push dinner through the screen. So that onion cleaved into two. I got a bonus onion out of that one. I don't need to keep those roots. Those were nice roots. If you wanted to keep them for sprouting or for growing back, those were some nice roots. But I have a full crop going out there already. We're breaking the parts of our onions apart. Taking off the gnarly, dried up bits of the leaves. We're going to be using them at two different stages. These are going to go in toward the end. These guys are going to go in toward the beginning along with the shallots. You know, I picked this knife for the first thing that I cut, which was that, and I feel like it was, and I've just stuck with it after that, and I feel like that was not the correct thing to do. It might have been the best knife for that thing, but it was the worst knife for all the rest of the things that I've done today. It's also a little dull. I thought I had this one sharpened, but maybe I forgot to take this one in. Strange. Are we adding peas? Well, the peas can just go in the cream sauce and kind of simmer, so they can be just grabbed late. And that's all of our parts, I think. So, it only took me a half hour to get all the Mises Plost today. I suspect we might have a short one overall. But that does mean it's time to begin. And we're going to do something I never do with olive oil, and we're going to measure it. That's 2 tablespoons of olive oil, which is actually a little bit more than I use. Most recipes call for 2 tablespoons of oil as sort of the standard. When you see that on a recipe that calls for some oil in the pan, and they say 2 tablespoons, the person who wrote that recipe is not measuring out 2 tablespoons. They might measure it if they have to do like a calorie counting thing, but what they're doing is they're taking their olive oil and they're going glug, and enough to coat the bottom. In this case, I'm measuring it out because for one thing, I want to know how much I've got because I'm planning on using the oil here We need it to have at least some extra oil in the pan to create a roux. Milk Woman, hi. Welcome. Tricky Tortilla. That sounds good. I'm making a bunch of green things in white stuff. I'm putting some extra asparagus away. I might pull out one so that I can have one. Take the bottom off that guy. No, it should be two. It should be two whole ones for a decorative topping. And they're going to want to be the same length, so I'm actually going to cut them both right there. That way I can have a decorative topping while still having most of the asparagus be in the mix. Yes. We're going to start with the Cuban oregano in the pan. I don't know. We're going to find out. I've never done this before, and as I said at the start, my plan is to use stuff up and produce no new leftovers today. And one of the things in my fridge that's got to get used up is oat milk. So we're diving in on that. Oh. I still have leftovers from the previous. Let's see. Oh. A couple of those things are getting a little bit old too. Oh, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm landing. I've overcommitted. And the fridge is running out of fridge space. And in case everything goes to heck, I also have some cheese. Throw some cheese in, that will help things come together. So I put the Cuban oregano in here first. I want it to, A, get really cooked out and infuse the oil. B, infuse the oil. So I'm putting it in before anything else to try to get its flavors extracted and get it nice and shriveled up before anything else happens in the pan. This is quite a lot of it, and I'm using up quite a lot of it because I had a trimming from my plant that I needed to trim it down. So I'm just plucked all the leaves off of the trimming, and here they are. I figured I should use them rather than throw them out. But Cuban oregano is stronger than an equal quantity of regular oregano, so it's also more like a vegetable-y because the leaves are so thick. So we're really going to fry it up here before I start adding other things. And that's looking reasonably shriveled up. They're getting starting to get little brown edges, but not like intensely. So I'm going to go ahead and have them join the or be joined by the shallot, which we likewise want to cook out most of the way. And the bottoms of the scallions that I chopped up. Same reason. We're shooting for like an infusion of flavors here at the base. You say time to start using up leftovers. I have been. I've been eating more of that same meat that we used to make the bao yesterday. I had that meat for every meal yesterday. And I still have. This much of it. Which I've squeezed all the air out of that bag to really... Okay. The garlic is on standby. That's the next thing. And we're going to want not a ton of wine, but a little bit of wine. A skull's worth of a dry white. Okay, let's slide you guys over so you can see me. Put in our garlic. We now have 3 different types of alliums in here. Which is delicious. And I need the flour, because now we're adding some flour. Because we're turning this olive oil and aromatics mixture into our roux base. My tablespoon is oily. So I'm following the rules for a bechamel in terms of how to thicken the sauce. But clearly I'm flavoring my sauce before we even get that far. And we're using olive oil instead of butter, which there's no reason that shouldn't work. Forming a roux is just a matter of mixing the flour into a fat and heating it to gelatinize the starches so that when they encounter liquid, they thicken that liquid instead of clumping up. Time for your wine. Time to switch tools to the scraper. Ooh. This is getting sticky. Put in a cup of oat milk. The wine dried up very fast. Our pan might be slightly too hot. We don't want any of this to burn is the thing. So now I'm pressing down hard and scraping the base to get any of the stuck on flour loosened up because I noticed it was sticking very quickly. Which is a danger. And normally the wine deglazes it and picks everything up, but in this case, it actually thickened the wine so quickly that the wine just started to stick to the bottom as well. So that wasn't great, so I went right for the next liquid instead of cooking out the wine. So this is going to be a little bit boozier than it should be. And this is the stage when I want to add some peas. I'm going to make a loud noise. Loud noise over. My frozen peas were in kind of a brick, so I just kind of smashed them. Frozen peas can go right into a boiling liquid and they will thaw and cook very easily, very quickly. Boy, I am blitzing today, aren't I? We're going to cook this until it hopefully thickens. Fully. It's already looking a little bit thick. I want to get the asparagus cooked, so that's going to go in now. Along with the two whole ones. We're going to want my scallion tops to be ready to go. They're going to go in pretty close to the end, but not at the complete end. I want them just to kiss the heat a little bit. We're also going to have to mince up our mint very soon, because that's also going to go in right almost at the very end and then kiss the heat. So it looks like I should have started it a little bit later today, because this one is going to be a short one at the pace I'm currently going. We're going to tick that down a smidge, actually. We're going to slide you guys over here so you can watch me cut onions. Being very careful, because this knife was mangling the other onions a little bit, and I want these to be nice little pieces. I don't know why I'm trying to get away with just a one knife deal. I often use 4+ knives per show, but for some reason today I've decided 1 knife. And how to cut a bunch of... Should we do a chiffonade? Let's do a chiffonade. So I'm rolling the mint really tightly, and then I'm cutting carefully to get long ribbons. Ribbons of mint. Okay, slide back over. Slide back over. We don't want the sauce to burn or stick. We also want these 2 asparaguses to cook, but not overcook. They want to be nice and bright green and tender. Throwing in the asparagus tops. I suppose I'll put away the peas I'm not using. It looks a little grainy, but it's not acting like it's split. I just think that oat milk doesn't have quite as smooth of a texture naturally as dairy milk. Because I can see, you probably can't see it on the camera, but I can see like really fine, sort of almost grainy look to it, but it's not behaving like it's a split sauce. We should also taste it, you know. Good Lord. Okay. That needed some salt. And some pepper. Ooh, I know. This is actually something that you're supposed to put in a traditional bechamel, and I always never do because I never use bechamels for the things you're supposed to do them traditionally. But I'm gonna do it this time. A little bit of fresh nutmeg. Okay. Okay. We're retrieving our 2 decorative topper asparaguses. So that we can vigorously stir in our stuff. I want to get this off the heat before the asparagus pieces lose their bright green, because then they'll be overcooked and they will be unpleasant. Pasta goes in. we need a scooch more liquid and a scooch more heat. It's still grabbing liquid a little bit, so I'm going to add a little bit more again. I think as long as it's able to grab more and thicken, I'm going to say I can keep adding to it to really cream it up. Okay, that's probably about as much as it can carry, because it's starting to pool at the bottom. So we're going to throw in the things that I said that we're going to just kiss the heat, our mint and our scallion tops. Patsy, hi Patsy, welcome, welcome. You've never had asparagus? Asparagus is very seasonal. I'm not sure where you live I know in America and in Europe, you can get asparagus all year long, but in any season besides sort of spring into early summer, it's going to be some really, really lousy greenhouse asparagus. And they tend to be very skinny and not very flavorful. So asparagus season is when they're roaring up out of the ground. They grow so fast. They grow so fast when they start growing. You pick them every day. So we're actually sort of tail ending it now, so you might be able to find them. Now-ish, now-abouts-ish. Sizan, hi, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. Wow, we're not even... What's happening at 6 is normally I'm running for about an hour and a half at least, and I was just being like, well, at 6 I'll be done cooking and then I'll present it. So I was like, more at 6, you'll see the results of my labors. This is looking kind of done already, and it's early. We might have a short one. We might have to concoct a dessert or something. Because we're plating. Because we're plating the pasta, because if we cook it any longer, our vegetables are going to be overcooked and our sauce is going to start to stick. So we are plating before the 1 hour mark. Despite my having gone, oh, it's nice and thick. The sauce is nice and thick, almost like a mac and cheese. Those guys on there. You're getting a steam plume right in the middle. little bit of fresh pepper on the top, and a decorative sprig of mint. And that is a plate of pasta with stuff. Green and white. White with green. I call it white green. I guess I go take a picture and then I think about maybe a dessert. Give me something real quick. Because normally when you're making a dessert, you start the dessert before you even start the meal the dessert is for, because desserts always take longer. Let me go grab a snap of this. I can munch and think about a quick dessert. Because we're looking, or we could just say this was a short one because I didn't have as much prep compared to some previous ones. That is always kind of how it goes. The more prep I have, the longer I can make my thing. Oh, what do you think? What do you think? What do we think? Do we try a dessert? Let me taste this first. Let me just give this a casual little tasteroo. Some noodles, some asparagus. Hmm. 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 Unexpected. It needs some cheese. Honestly, it needs a sprinkle of cheese. Because it doesn't have anything that's giving it that sort of umami note. But I don't hate it. I'm not gonna say it's my favorite thing in the world. It's actually pretty good. The sauce is so interesting because it tastes like oat milk. Now this is an unsweetened, unflavored oat milk, so it kind of tastes like, the sauce almost tastes porridgey. Wow, that bite was very different. Wow, that bite was very different. I'm having a hard time putting words together for this one. It needs. Oh, I love the texture of the sauce. The sauce is so smooth and so creamy. I have a little bit of shredded cheese here. I'm gonna just do a real quick. I'm going to do a real quick with some shredded cheese and see if that's what it's missing. If so, how do you include that without adding cheese? Probably nutritional yeast? Yeah. A little bit of salt, a little bit of tang, so which suggests it's also undersalted. And a little bit of tang because this is a Romano. Hi, Mags. We speed ran today, and we plated before the hour mark, and now I'm already doing tasting, and I've got more notes than usual, and I'm less like, damn, that was amazing, thrilled with my own work. I love the texture of this. The texture is so smooth and so creamy. It's way smoother and way creamier than I think I've ever gotten one with milk, with just a milk-based bechamel. It's like silky. It's like a really, really good egg yolk custard. It's just this silky smooth texture. And I think the only thing is I didn't go far enough on building flavors. Although each bite is slightly different. So maybe I'm just, because I created such a homogeneous thing here. Mmm. 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 Every bite is slightly different. I actually really like the peas. That one had a couple peas in it, which appear to have mostly fallen to the bottom. But the peas have a really good flavor with the rest of this. The asparagus is mild asparagus-y. I'm not really tasting the mint really strongly. I wonder if I could have added, I probably could have added double that amount of mint and really gotten it in there, but I wonder if that might have overwhelmed it. I'm not sure. This type of mint is a pretty strong mint, so I was a little bit judicious with it. I'm intrigued. I'm very, very impressed with how the oat milk acted to form the sauce, to form the base of the sauce. There's got to be something you can do with that because it's just so silky smooth. Let me see what the ingredients are, because it's not just oats and water. Oats, water, sunflower oil, calcium carbonate, dipotassium phosphate, guar gum, sea salt, sunflower lecithin, gellan gum, vitamin A, vitamin D, riboflavin, vitamin B12. So it's probably the lecithin and the gums that are causing it to thicken like that and form this really, really super silky smooth. Because they have to put thickeners in these. The texture is never quite the same as dairy milk, and in order to make your mouth happy when you're drinking it. Like, oh, that one was different again. Wow, everybody's different. That bite was very minty, very mint forward. With that good herbaceous mint flavor, not the cooling part of the mint, but the herbaceous part of it. Wow, wow! Every time I take a bite of this, I'm having my conceptions of the dish changed. Weird. I think the mint should have gone in slightly earlier in order to infuse into the sauce a little bit better. Because that mint, that bite I just had with the mint in it, real different, real good. Also, I made this deliberately with no dairy And I'm impressed at how the oat milk turned out, but flavor-wise, this really wants a sprinkle of cheese. And I think the non-dairy way to do that is to mix some nutritional yeast in it, but nutritional yeast is never quite the same. So for my own eating purposes, I am going to cheese the thing with some pre-grated cheese. You could just watch me eat. I try to avoid the just watching me eat thing because, I don't know, it seems boring. You can try it with bow ties. I recommend 4 thick cream sauces like this, sort of these like this. There's no white. There's these thick, sort of sticky sauces that want to coat things. Shapes with lots of little crannies for the sauce to get up in, which is why I selected rotelle, because then the sauce can get in between the spirals. And each noodle then can be a really good carrier for a lot of sauce. But sufficiently thickened sauce doesn't matter. It'll stick to anything. You can put it on long, straight noodles and it'll stick to them. And this sauce probably is thick enough to have done that. I also think we probably could have added even more oat milk to this and made a greater volume of sauce. Because I've still got a little bit of oat milk over here. We didn't use quite all of it. And that's the flavor that's in there for sure. You can definitely taste that it is oat milk. That's not hiding at all, because I can super taste that. I think you could bury that if you wanted to, but I don't know that you want to. I kind of like the taste of an unsweetened, plain oat milk. I don't really like the ones that dump a bunch of sugar in. I haven't come up with any like snappy ideas for a quick, fun dessert, you know. I made ice cream. I just make an affogato. I have no ice cream. We can't make an affogato. Delightful. I guess that means I'm gonna wrap us real early today. Not even 6. Wow. My title was a lie the whole time. No news at 6. Or no more at 6. Wow. Yeah. I just kind of blitzed through it and ran out of stuff to do. Well, in J-land, it's after 6. In normal people land, it's 5:42. Anyways, heck, I'm so cleaned up. Maybe I'll jump in with something else. I've got more leftovers to use up. So I guess stay tuned. We could try a lunch. We could try another lunch and hit that hit those leftovers. Because I've got some gourd in there. We've got just got stuff. It kind of built up because I kept doing more things in really rapid succession. Anyways, TK forgives me. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the things. This was pretty good. I had a lot of notes. I'm not going to say this was a blinding success. It's close enough that it deserves revisiting and perfecting. Because I'm really intrigued at how smooth the sauce came out. Even though it still looks like it's a split sauce, but it's so strange. It has this slightly grainy texture visually to it, but it's so silky smooth. Just perfect. Like, I wouldn't even want to add too much to it because it is so silky smooth. I'd be afraid of ruining that smoothness. Of course, I did this to use up oat milk, which means I don't have any more oat milk. So I guess we're not starting this right away because that would mean buying more oat milk, which I don't have room for. But let's write this one down so that I can come back and try again with better flavor management. I wonder what, or I think I could lean in on the nutmeg. I could lean in on some of those sort of warm flavors. Wee Former! Hi, Wee Former. Let me shout out Wee Former. Well, Wee Former, let me tell you about this real quick. Because it's already been plated and I've been eating it. What we created is until I put the cheese on top at least, it was a vegan asparagus cream sauce, or pasta with a vegan asparagus cream sauce flavored with peas, scallions, and mint. And we used oat milk as the milk to form our bechamel. And it has come out so silky smooth, so ridiculously silky smooth, that I want to revisit it and tinker with the flavors. Because what's letting me down a little bit is that I undershot the flavors. What we're working with here can definitely stand more flavor than I gave it this time around. But the texture is just so nice. Our theme today was using up stuff from the fridge, so I didn't buy any ingredients for this. I just used up stuff I've got, and also some herbs coming up in my garden, which is where the mint came from. The whole spears of asparagus are very nice. I think these smaller ones did get a little bit fruit fly. Fruit fly? No. I missed. The ones that were in the sauce got a little bit overdone and lost their flavor a little bit. The whole spears are nice and flavorful, and I think doing this as is again, I would poach the spears of asparagus in the sauce, but whole, and then remove them like I did with the two decorative ones, and then chop them up and stir them in at the end off the heat so that they still retained some more of their flavor and crunch. I'm also not ravenously hungry today because I ate properly. Unlike Bow Day when I was just starving, and then it also took 2.5 hours and I had to blast through 6 of those bows. I sat down and I ate 6 of those bows. Which is way too much, but I was so hungry. And then I felt bad, and I was all stuffed. But yeah, I was sort of brainstorming, especially with a little bit of oat milk left, what I could do for just a quick side or dessert. And I wasn't coming up with anything really like, bam, it's a good idea. But what if, while I keep nibbling on this, what if I don't jump out right now and I try to force this? We've got about ½ cup oat milk, a little bit less than a ½ cup oat milk. Can I, because the texture was so interesting, can I force this into a something? Okay, we're gonna play. We're gonna play. Bear with me, kids. It's playtime. We're going to want to sweeten it. We're going to want to thicken it into sort of either a mousse or a custard. Oop! Shoot! That dribbled. Oh, that dribbled in here. That's not good. That is not where you wanted that to dribble. That's a concentrate, and I don't want that in my dish. So we're gonna go ahead and scoop that corner out. Well, that's what I get for playing, I guess. Hard to pour. Hi, Cybertraz. This is pretty good. It's not my favorite. I've got a lot of notes, but now we're playing. Now we are. Now we're getting wild. Now we're just gonna start throwing stuff at the wall and see what happens. We might make a mess. We might make it delicious. But also, we might move slightly away from the plate of good food and slide over into the realm of not pouring flavor extracts directly into that. That probably is a good idea. I know what I'm doing. I think I know what I'm doing. Putting that in a little pan. There's one fruit fly who's been circling me for the past 10 minutes. I can't quite get him. I was even to the point of thanking everybody and wrapping up, and now look at us. Now look at us. Into the wild green yonder. Whoa! Something. I'm giving it the benefit of some green speckles. You're here in time for going off the deep end and playing God. Okay. We're going with a little bit more mint. So what has gone in here so far? I haven't said anything. I've just been throwing stuff at it. Everyone's coming in now. We've got people rolling in. I guess we have more at 6. What's gone in there is our half a cup of oat milk, a dash of pandan extract. That's the bright green stuff. I might even give it a second dash because some of my dash spilled. Some decent pinches of sugar just to sweeten it up. I might add a pinch more of sugar. Ooh, we're getting real green now. Some dried mint for the little speckles, and then some shredded fresh mint from the sprig that I used to decorate my other plate. And I'm just kind of I went slightly too far with the pandan. And I have no way of bringing that back aside from adding more liquid to this. Which I think we're going to have to do anyways, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it a very small amount of water. Because we're going to cook it down a little bit as well, which is why I put it in this little pan. We're going to get out our jar of mysterious white powder. We could have added regular milk. White powder. Don't worry what the white powder is. It's perfectly safe. Give it a taste. Better, better. We also can't do regular milk because I don't have any regular milk. I have no milk. That oat milk was the last of the milks that I had available. Full stop. We are 100% in this sort of the play space. The white powder was not celery salt, no. The white powder was agar. I'm going to thicken this with some agar. A knob of butter. A knob of butter probably would make this taste better. a little bit of fresh nutmeg, and you know, a knob of butter is not a bad idea. We're about to cook it because we need to heat it for the agar to thicken. Some butter. If this goes wrong, blame TK for that butter. Because we know it was all going to be perfect up until the moment that butter was suggested. Let me make sure there's nothing gonna smoke on that burner before I put this directly on it. And there is something smoking. Because I always set my spatula down back there. The emulsifiers in the oat milk should be able to pull the butter into emulsion and not just have a puddle of butter floating on top. That should work. The smoking is stopped. And now we have to it's such a small quantity that I really don't want it to get away from me. So we're going to keep moving the whole time we're in here. It needs to come to a simmer, but not a boil. I mean, you can boil agar and it'll work. But I don't want to bring this to a boil because I don't want to risk foaming it over, and also I don't want to risk burning things onto the bottom. Okay, the butter is melted. Oh, the mint is trying to cling on to my whisk. If I let it sit, there's a little bit of butter floating on the surface, but not much. So I think we've actually done a good job of getting it to at least partly incorporate. Okay, I'm gonna let that come up to a little bit of a simmer. I am already thinking of what I'm gonna call this. I've selected a teacup for it because I think it is going to end up looking like tea when I am done. Like a creamy green tea. And I should... It's gonna need to freeze. Hopefully very, very fast. Means I need room to put it so it sits level. So it's gonna be right there, and we're going to pre-chill the cup. Maybe. This stuff might be a complete disaster. We're finding out together right now if this is even a workable concept. You know, I wouldn't even have tried this if the sauce hadn't come out so well on the pasta. I'm really intrigued with the cooking properties of oat milk. We have a pretty vigorous simmer going. I'm going to let that keep going until it just makes me mad, and then I'm going to take it off the heat. Take it off the heat. Experimental science goggles. Okay. Now, the cup was only in there for a moment for chilling. There it goes. Let's... I'm blowing on the top to get rid of the bubbles. Because I don't want bubbles. Okay, and now we have to kill some time, because that needs to set. It's a small quantity, but it's boiling hot. So I guess I'm sticking with you for another several minutes at least. So, people who have come in since I asked, what's for dinner? So I would put that stuff in the fridge normally and let it chill more slowly. It takes around a half hour. But we're not waiting a half hour, so in the freezer it goes. The pandan's over here. I got away from it. I stayed away from it. I kept away from it. I didn't dive in. Pandan flavor essence. I've looked for fresh pandan. Pandan is like, it's like a grassy thing, but it has this very unique, almost vanilla-like flavor. Not quite. It's like, it's close, but when you taste it, it's like, that's not vanilla. That's something different. And they dye the extract green. The extract does not need to be green. They dye the extract green because the thing is green, and it's traditionally the stuff you put it in is green as well. Birria taco. I do love a good birria taco. I've had a lot of tacos lately. I had taco Freitag on Friday. And then we put taco meat in our bao on Saturday. But also for lunch on Saturday, I had tacos. And then today for lunch, I had tacos. I love a good taco. I might be going a little bit overboard on the tacos, which is why I still have some taco meat, because I gotta figure out what else to do with it that's not put it in tacos. Overdosing on tacos. I wonder if you could make, because the stuff, the pandan essence here is not itself sweetened at all. It's usually used in sweets, but it's not a sweet thing. Much like vanilla, It's associated with sweets, but there's nothing about it that is inherently sweet. Wow, I've gotten away with a remarkably low dish count today. That's good. Throw away a little bit of that tainted vegetables that got doused in pandan extract. Taint. Yeah. Now I'm just kind of tidying up. What's the one kitchen tool I wish I had? Stand mixer. Easy answer, stand mixer. I wouldn't use it all the time, but the things that it's capable of doing are things that I have a hard time doing without one. I'm reasonably good at a lot of doughs. Some doughs are trouble to make without the machine. You can do it, but they're not real friendly. Likewise, it's good for whipping eggs, which I can again do without one, but it's a bit. $50! That's a steal! Oh my goodness, that is a steal. Oh, I just know. Wait, Farmer, I just noticed that when you arrived and said you were late, you did that with bits. Thank you so much. I missed the bits part of that. It's just. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. As for something lesser than a giant expensive piece of machinery, I've gradually accumulated all the things that I kind of wished I had by just hitting thrift stores for a while. Like that nice ricer and a flour sifter. I guess I'm pretty hooked up, actually, with small gadgets and appliances. It's just sort of the big things that are hard to luck out on. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just kind of opening drawers and cupboards and looking, seeing, like, oh, I wish I had X. There's probably been things where, as I'm doing it, I'm like, I wish I had such and such to do this job with. A lime squeezer, a citrus squeezer, or is a lime squeezer something else? I have struggled sometimes with squeezing out citruses. I do it with this guy with a little hand reamer. But sometimes I wish I had one. I do wish I had one of those just like hinged squashers that does it in one go. You should see this odds and ends in this drawer. Like the garlic peeler and the tiny culinary mallet. We talked about the mezzaluna that I got. Some things have kind of migrated to the back because I clearly don't use them. I'm like, what's that? A bowl scraper. Clearly don't use that. Probably should use that. Let me bring that to the front so I can see it. But yeah, it's usually like big things that because honestly, all the small gadgetry that I've got, all these little odds and ends and things, I get at thrift stores because lots of people buy them and then end up not using them and give them away basically new, basically brand new. Whereas the big appliances, not so often. A deep fryer, okay, this one, a deep fryer. And I've talked before how I wish I had the big commercial deep fryer, which is like bigger than my oven and takes 100 gallons of oil, and it's a huge thing because I have used one of those, and they are magical when you want to deep fry something. They're the perfect tool for that job. They also cost thousands and thousands of dollars, needed dedicated electric lines, hundreds of gallons of oil, pumps, filters. It's a whole thing. It's not something you want at home. A small one though, not so there's those little tiny ones that are terrible because they're too small to retain sufficient heat to fry stuff in. There's an intermediary size. They're about that big. I think they're a good 3-gallon volume, which is enough to fry stuff at home without the temperature roller coastering like crazy. And they're reasonably priced. And I saw one at a thrift store once for under $20, and I didn't buy it because I was like, am I going to use the deep fryer? And also, where the heck am I going to put it? We skipped that one because it's too niche, and I have nowhere to put it. We already running into issues where I don't have a place to put stuff. At least the Magic Pot, which is a very large appliance, does a million different things. So yeah. And I have some pie in the sky, like wish list things as well. A freeze dryer would be fun to have just to play with. But yeah, I should fire up Facebook Marketplace and just see if one shows up nearby that I can snag. I don't usually go for the buying stuff secondhand online. Because I want to see it. I haven't been chit-chatting and losing track of time. Let's see if this thing is still a liquid. It is, and it's still warm at the bottom, but it's definitely on the direction of setting. How long do I wait? How long do I wait before I say that I'm just killing time? Well, it's not that late actually, and I'm almost... Anyway, if I completely finish my pasta, then I'll say, I'm not waiting any longer. Otherwise, we'll peek at it in 5 more minutes. I've got a delayed monitoring screen over there, and I'm well, when I'm over here doing stuff, I sure look like I'm kind of off the screen, don't I? Yeah, if I end up calling it, I'll just post the pics in Discord. I would like to be able to show you directly though, because I want it to, because we're going to scoop into it, and it should be like a, almost like a jelly. So I want to get to the point where it's at least most of the way to that. It looks pretty good. I can just show you it. It looks like this. And you can see it's definitely forming a solid, but it's still warm in the middle. So it's coming along. How long has it been in there? I think I put it in about 118. Maybe later. I'm not sure. Agar sets pretty quickly. Agar sets much faster than gelatin. You know what I never found? Just talking about gadgets. I looked at thrift stores for a long, long time, trying to find one of these. Just a French rolling pin, which is just a simple dowel tapered on the edges for rolling stuff out. There's a ton of American rolling pins at thrift stores, which is the straight dowel with the little handles on the side that spin. And I think it's just because these are so good that if you've got one, you just never get rid of it. So I ended up buying one new. And here it is. And we've used it a whole bunch. So it was well worth the purchase. And then I've got things that I regret buying. Odds and ends and gadgets. We can talk about odds and ends and gadgets that I bought and was like, Goldie, hi. We missed the food a bit. My dinner was real fast today. We plated before the hour mark. I can tell you about it if you want to know. We plated before the hour mark because I completely misjudged it and it was really fast. We're currently chilling a dessert that I have made since this to extend more time. So what we've got here is rotelle, asparagus, peas, scallions, a mint chiffonade, just a piece of milk, Mint. This mint was the decorative plate mint, but then I used some of it for my dessert. In a oat milk olive oil white sauce. So until I added a sprinkle of cheese right at the end, this was completely vegan. I made a vegan bechamel out of olive oil, flour, and oat milk. And then it's got, you know, onion or green onions and shallots and some herbs. And initially I was underwhelmed when I took my first bite, but then the next like 4 bites were all wildly different from each other. It's very homogeneous. I really like the bites that have a lot more mint, and I think I want to add more mint and add it slightly earlier so that it gets more infused. Mint is such an interesting addition to this. What I'm most impressed by is the sauce, which came out, and even now that it's cooled off, has maintained. Isolate a little bit. So, unlike a butter-based bechamel, because it's room temperature now, because it's been sitting here while I've been talking, it hasn't set up because there's no butter. The fat in our sauce is olive oil, which is liquid at room temperature as well, so it stayed soft, but it is so silky smooth. It looks a little off. I don't know if you can quite see that. It has just this slight grainy look to it, but it is only appearances. It looks like it has started to split, but the texture, and when it was cooking, it behaves in the pan, is this perfect silky smooth sauce. And then this green smear on the side here is because I spilled a little bit of pandan while I was making the dessert. So we kind of eat away from that. So I had a bunch of notes for this, but I was super impressed with how the oat milk behaved in constructing the sauce. Now it did taste like oat milk, so that was my biggest issue with this was that I needed to lean into flavors more, build up more flavors, to sort of pull away from that underlying slightly oatmeal-y flavor. But I was so impressed with how the sauce came together. And it was just because I had stuff I needed to use up. We had about a cup and a half of oat milk. We had some asparagus that was getting a little iffy. We have this weird prepackaged garlic that I was trying out because it was on sale. And it's not my favorite, and also there was a ton of it, so we're using up that. The sprig of mint is from my garden. The goal was to remove things from the fridge and put nothing back, which we so far have accomplished. Yeah. So that was the thing here. It did go pretty fast when I got to the cooking part. And I kind of expected it to, but it went a little bit faster than I thought it was even. It overshot even a little bit. I had to skip the cooking out the wine stage because the wine thickened into the pan so quickly that the wine started to burn on the bottom. So then I just had to go in with the oat milk. And then we've been chit-chatting, and then it's in the freezer because I wanted to cool down faster. We took the remaining oat milk, because I didn't use all of it for the sauce here. Some pandan extract, which there's drips of all over the place because it was very hard to pour. 2 leaves off of this sprig of mint. I picked the middle 2 leaves because the bottom ones had gotten a little bit heated. A little bit of dry mint so that there was just some more speckles. Sugar, I ended up needing to add a little bit of water, and then TK said throw some butter in, and I did that. Along with a small scoop of agar, I'm hoping we get like a creamy pandan mint jelly for dessert that I have put in a teacup that is now in the freezer chilling so that it is a jelly and not just hot pandan mint tea, which probably would be good too, but I was looking for more of a fun little dessert. Speaking of which, let's see how our set is looking. Ooh! Well, we chit-chatted and waffled around long enough to pull it off. Behold, it doesn't pour, it's set. Have I ever cooked with pomegranate sauce? No. No, I have not. I'm going to take a quick picture of this before I dive into it. But it has set. That was just the right amount of time for it to set. So I can taste our dessert. At which point we're going to wrap up. But let's taste. Let's taste. Ooh, it's soft, but not. Ooh, oh. Maybe. Interesting. Bottoms up. Ooh. It's still ever so slightly warm at the bottom. So it's not a cold jelly. It's a slightly warm jelly. Ooh. Whoa, the flavor is really nice. Ooh, the flavor is really nice. Okay, it tastes like... Oh, that's right, I put some nutmeg in there. I could taste it, and it reminded me that I put some nutmeg in there. Ooh, it's like... It's minty, but it's... Because it's slightly warm, and then it's got the sort of warm flavors of nutmeg and pandan, which, as a reminder, pandan is... If you've never tasted it, the closest thing is vanilla, but it's really kind of its own thing. It's kind of its own flavor. It's kind of like a warm vanilla, like a warm vanilla. The texture is really nice too. It's set, but only like just set. So you can break off bits of it, but it's not like really firm. And there's no grease. I was worried there would be a little bit of greasiness because we added that butter. And first of all, it's green on top, which means there's no skin of butter on top. The butter would form a white skin on top if it had separated and solidified. So the butter has incorporated, except for just a tiny little hint around the outer edge. So that actually worked, and there's no greasy feeling in my mouth either. So it's incorporated the butter, and I bet you that's giving it that lovely sort of richness. Mmm. Having it be just set and slightly warm is so nice. So nice that I would hazard, if you had the time, you should probably set this stuff at room temperature, because it will set at room temperature. It'll just take a long time. Or perhaps chill it and then bring it back up to room temperature for serving, because I really like how it's just slightly warm, which enhances those warm flavors. Mmm. Well, that's a bigger success than that. This was tasty. This, for me, just throwing stuff together and making things up and sure, let's whack up a piece of butter in there. This came out great. That came out great. I'm gonna leave some of it here so that I can take a picture of it, sort of with the cut surface, so you can see how it's a jelly. But yeah, surprising. I'm surprised because I thought I was going to make a mess. I thought this was going to be a mess. But I guess I've learned more than I thought I did, because that was not a mess. That is mighty tasty. And that was, I got to remember the amounts too. That was a quarter teaspoon of agar into 3/4 of a cup of liquid and a little bit of butter. So it's slightly less agar than you should use. But that's, I think, fine. I think I wouldn't want it to be any firmer than this. If anything, I would put a little bit less agar in it and have it be just slightly more on the pudding side and a little bit less on the jelly side. Especially if you let it set the full time, because we pulled this as soon as I got it to not slosh around. Lost in thought. Lost in thought, and that takes us over 2 hours. And also, hey, it came true. More at 6. Here's the more. It was at 6. There's Isosceles. Hi, Isosceles. Well, with a resounding success in our little tiny teacup dessert, I'm going to wrap us up. I'm going to send us off. Let's see who's on. That I can ship you folks off to. Last time we got the drop off on Hecky cooking a cake, baking a cake. No such luck this time. None of my food people are on, as usual. All my food people are on earlier than me. Let's... Oh, God, I'm going to have to deal with... So Twitch changed the RAID panel to make it enormous and cover the whole thing, the whole screen in some kind of terrible, terrible decision-making. Does anyone have a suggestion? Otherwise, I think we're going to go raid out to Lee Chat, who is Stardewing. Unless somebody has a fun new suggestion we could go say hi to. Stuff stuck in my teeth. I'm going to need a toothpick. Okay, well, we're going off to see Lee-Chet, who's playing Stardew, as she always does. She's a Stardew-only channel. She does professional level speedrun and challenges in Stardew. So let's all go say hi. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Thanks for all the support. Everybody who came and said hi. Thank you to TK for telling me to put butter in my teacup. Thank you for everyone who stuck through me kind of just standing around waiting for a thing to chill. We ended up talking, which is good. I always love a good conversation with you, the chat. Yeah, and then we'll see if I can catch that one fruit fly who was bothering me. Because he shouldn't be in here. And if you got one, you might get more, and I'd rather get rid of that one before I have more. So yeah, for sure back on Friday. Stay tuned for anything.